everyone, Devin here. I'm the admin for the group if you're new, and today's topic is the pelvic floor, which seems to be a really popular topic. So I'm hoping you guys are gonna love what I have to share and feel like it's really helpful for you. So I'll just start off by telling you a bit about myself if you don't know too much about me. So I am a wife, I'm a mom, and I'm a yoga teacher. I have a preschooler, and my little guy is going to be 1 later this month, which is crazy to me because it feels like it's just been a couple of months. So before we get started, when you're watching this, let me know if you're watching live or on the replay. I'd love to know when you guys are able to join. This is the only time I can do these because that's when my kiddos are asleep. And hopefully they have a peaceful sleep, right? Okay, so let me start off by telling you about my journey with pelvic floor stuff. So I think I wasn't even remotely aware about the pelvic floor until maybe like 10 years ago, and I'm 38, so I feel like I should have known about this stuff way earlier, being a woman. So that's just a quick sample of how much we don't know and how much we're not taught about this subject. I think I only learned about like prolapse and stuff like that because I have friends who are paramedics and they talked about that like 10 years ago or something, and that absolutely horrified me. So for me, when I first learned about it, it kind of like didn't really faze me. And then I'd see like in comedy shows here and there, people talking about Kegels and joking about like, oh, they're doing their exercises right now, but nobody can even see. And that's another thing that is such a misconception. And like, that's like the only thing we hear about with pelvic floor stuff typically in like popular media. So we think to do that, and nobody explains it to us, and it's actually not helpful, if you can believe that. I'll go into that later. So for me, I didn't really care about pelvic floor stuff sorry, my cat is knocking over everything. I didn't really care about pelvic floor stuff when I was younger and I was first starting yoga because I felt like, oh, I'm not a mom yet, like this doesn't affect me, but that's also not true. And then I started paying attention to trainings about it later on, like maybe when I was like early 30s. And that was more so to help people in my classes. It wasn't really for me. Like I wasn't doing these workshops like to help myself. It was more for my knowledge. And then I started getting more knowledge and stuff, which was good. But it wasn't until I took a workshop training, maybe like a few months before I first got pregnant. And we were doing some exercises and stuff. And the teacher was like, so when you're doing this, you can feel this. And I was like, right. And then I saw people around me going, mm-hmm. Like they knew what the heck she was talking about. And then I left the class thinking like, was I the only one who didn't feel what the heck she was talking about? But I was in that workshop with a friend, and then she was like, when you were doing this one pose, did you feel that in your pelvic floor? And I was like, no, like I couldn't feel it at all. So if you do things with your pelvic floor that are not Kegels and you can't feel it immediately, you're not alone, okay? This is an area that you like really have to put your brain into to feel unless you're doing Kegels. And like I said, that's not your primary thing you should be doing. So yeah, that's a caveat. You might be like, I must be doing something wrong because I can't feel it. But it's subtle, and the more you are aware of it, the more you put your brain there, visualize it, the more you'll start to notice it. So for me, I was like, what? Like, I'm a yoga teacher. How can I not feel this area? So I had to really, really like I said, put my brain in that area to figure out, like, I knew the instructions. I knew how to do everything she was saying. I had to be able to feel it to understand it. So it took some time. And then luckily I had been doing that training, and then it really stuck with me because I couldn't feel it, and I was working on it to figure it out more. And then I got pregnant with my first pregnancy. And then when I recovered afterwards, I was using some of those techniques, and it was extremely easy recovery, thankfully, because mentally it was not. Then when I got pregnant with my daughter, I knew once again stuff to do after she was born. And then once again with my son last year, thankfully that labor and delivery was super easy. Recovery was like a breeze, thankfully, because I know how traumatic it can be. And once again, doing those exercises, it's like, there's so many people out there after having even one child being like, oh yeah, you won't catch me on a trampoline, or oh, it's so relatable, like peeing a little bit when you laugh or sneeze or whatever. And I'm like, no, this is not the way it should be. Like it's almost like we're made to accept that, like, yeah, well, that's the way it is. But it's like, no, it doesn't have to be that way. And I want to be somebody who can help you realize that it does not have to be that way, and that if you want to get on a trampoline with your kid when they are like 6, you can without feeling like you're gonna have to pee. And then, like, I don't know if you've seen, there's a stat that's like, it's called like 1 in 3 like me, and those are 1 in 3 women will experience like bladder leakages and stuff like that when they laugh or sneeze, and in a way the stat is trying to like normalize that for people. But on the other hand, I'm like, but it's making you think that this is just the way it is, and it doesn't have to be. If we had more education and like understood our own bodies more, it wouldn't be like that. So that's my passion about this subject. So I hope I can help you if you need it, if you are struggling. I really hope that some of the insight I'm going to share and some of the programs or just chit-chatting with me can help you. So let's get into it. So just before we get into it, if anything I'm saying resonates with you, if you are having any of these problems, feel free to comment or DM me so we can work on it and get better. Sorry, my cat is like going crazy. And as I'm going on talking about the tips that I'm going to be giving you, if you have questions, please feel free. Don't be shy to drop your question in the comments, or once again, DM me, and let's get to the meat of your issue so that you can be the mom that goes to the trampoline park with your kid, and you don't have to think twice about it, because you are not one of those 1 in 3 statistic. Okay, so let's get into it. So the pelvic floor if you, first of all, don't even know what it is, and don't feel ashamed if you don't, because we aren't taught enough about this stuff. It's almost like a little hammock at the bottom that supports all of our organs from, you know, falling out of us. And so, of course, for women, especially women who have had babies, that's a lot of pressure on that area. And especially if you don't know about it, how could you have been working on it to have it functioning normally? So first of all, if you are having issues, know that it's not your fault. It's nothing you did wrong. It's not like you didn't do your Kegels properly. It's a lack of education about our bodies, because, you know, society has made it out to be like icky or something, but it's not. It's our bodies, and we should know how to deal with them. So first of all, if you are having issues, you're not alone. You're not weird. You didn't do anything wrong. So the issues happen because of the pressure and the trauma from, in our case, in this chapter of life, pregnancy and childbirth. So it's not like, you know, tissue paper. If it's ripped, you can never put it back together. It's a muscle, and it just needs to be trained properly. So I've mentioned Kegels a few times. The thing that most people think about Kegels is squeezing and releasing, almost like you are trying to stop yourself from peeing and then continue on. And this is the one and only thing that people are kind of taught about, and not even taught. That's something that you see in media sometimes. So first of all, that is not an optimal way to work or train on your pelvic floor. It's action that is contributing to a tight pelvic floor, which is not what you want. You want a pelvic floor that has full range of motion. So if you are working on Kegels, if you feel like it's really necessary, instead of the squeeze and release, if you can imagine, you are trying to bring the muscles up like an elevator, and then back down, blossoming like a flower. And that is the key piece that people often forget about, the blossoming like a flower. And that is equally as important, because like I said, you don't want a tight pelvic floor, because that contributes to incontinence and leakage issues. You want a pelvic floor with a full range of motion. So that's the being able to lift and being able to blossom. So if you insist on working on Kegels in your life, if it sounds crazy to you not to, then you want to work on kind of imagining like an elevator instead of squeeze and release. So the surprising thing is that pelvic tilts are actually more optimal and are a lot more helpful than Kegels. So you might be able to think in your mind, like, pelvic tilts, like that's so easy, like anybody can do that. But I'm here to tell you as a yoga teacher that it's not. Even in forward folds, the primary thing I see in a forward fold is people putting the bend into their back rather than the tilt in their pelvis. So the tilt in the pelvis creates a much more optimal hamstring stretch than bending through your back to get deeper into your forward fold, imagining like you're trying to touch the floor, and people rounding their backs instead of hinging from their hips. So what does a pelvic tilt do for the pelvic floor? Well, it's all in the pelvis, right? So the name should indicate that that is helpful in that region. So when you are tilting your pelvis forward, you're imagining your tailbone coming up towards the sky. So this is like if you were in cow pose or you were doing a forward fold. This creates a natural blossoming open of your pelvic floor, if you can believe it. You might not be able to feel it at first, but this is for a pelvic floor that has a normal range of function, and it's not like you've had severe trauma that you have to go to a medical professional to fix. If you are in the range of normal, then forward tilt where your tailbone's coming up towards the sky, a blossoming open happens of your pelvic floor. And this is something that is very beneficial during pregnancy. So if you are, if you're pregnant and watching this, you're thinking of doing cow pose as often as you can, because you are training your pelvic floor in that opening range of motion, and you are also creating the perfect hammock for your baby to slip into the optimal birthing position, assuming your baby has no room crampage issues, like if your uterus is an abnormal shape or something. But for a normal case, cow pose helps to get baby into the correct position. So postpartum, cat pose is the tilting of the other way. So you're thinking of your tailbone coming down towards the floor. So you're in that like scared cat back. And doing so in the normal range of motion for a pelvic floor will naturally bring the pelvic floor up, like that elevator I was saying. And once again, if you go to do cat pose and you don't feel it, that is totally okay. You just want to train your brain to feel that area, putting your brain in that area and really feeling those natural engagements. Like you don't have to do anything other than tilt your pelvis to get that pelvic floor working in both of the directions. So why is that important? Once you get that tilt down in both directions, that actually can create that range of motion. So you're getting the strength and the mobility of your pelvic floor to have it functioning normally. The other thing that contributes to it, interestingly, is your breath. So if you think of your lungs, when you expand your lungs on an inhale, your diaphragm lowers, and that can put pressure down into the pelvic floor if you are not engaging properly. So what would happen in this scenario? Say you're obsessed with getting abs after having your baby and it's just not working, and you have diastases and all that. So when you are not breathing with the tilt and with your muscle engagement and exertion, then you're putting pressure on the pelvic floor and your belly will dome instead of your abs contracting in the way that you want them to. So if you think of your cat-cow pose, when you do your cow pose, you are inhaling, your pelvic floor is blossoming open, so your diaphragm is coming down, and at the same time you're blossoming open. That is the thing you want to do with the pelvic floor with the inhale. When you're exhaling, your lungs are contracting, so your diaphragm's moving up, so your pelvic floor can also move up. And keeping that in mind, So just keep that in mind for a second. When you're doing cat pose, pelvic floor is naturally engaging. You are contracting your abs as well. So when you're doing your ab work, you want to think of really using your breath properly so that your abs and your pelvic floor and everything are working harmoniously together. So exhales when you're engaging your abdomen, and then that helps the pelvic floor as well. So that might be a lot of information that is like swirling through your head and you don't know even where to start. So let me recap it quickly for you. Kegels are no and cat-cows are yes. Basically, that's the big takeaway you want to get from this. Cat-cows are super beneficial when you're pregnant and postpartum. Your cow pose is the blossoming open of your pelvic floor, and your cat pose is the engaging of your pelvic floor. When you're doing cat pose, your abs are engaging. When you're doing cow pose, you're doing a back bend. So you're thinking of your breath with those movements as well. And then that can help you, that can carry on with you through if you're training back bends, like any sort of back bends, or if you're doing your ab exercises. You're thinking of cat pose in every ab exercise. You're thinking of exhaling when your abs are engaging. So I am actually going to give you a little interesting tidbit. I'm creating a pelvic floor program, and I'm going to be talking more and more about it as the month goes on. And of course, that includes some ab work. So if you are looking to get train your pelvic floor and make it function better, as well as working on your abs, especially lower abs, then hit me up and we can chit chat about it, and I can let you know more about it as I create it. And then I hope that can be very helpful for you if you are training either or both. And there's going to be an extra special 3-day free program at the end of the month that may or may not have something to do with this. And you'll get more info about that as the month goes on. And if you are on my email list, you'll get that information first. If you're not on my email list and you want to be, you can just comment email list and I will message you, and you will also get a cute little freebie about being able to chill out when you are prenatal or postpartum. All right, so I hope that was helpful. And once again, if you had any questions or anything resonated with you or anything like that, comment or DM me and we'll chit chat about it. And I want to make you feel your best and be able to function your best and not to be a statistic because you are unaware of how to work with your pelvic floor. All right, so that's it for now. I hope you have a wonderful evening, and look out for the poll tomorrow about the tutorial I will film for you, whatever you guys want. And Monday's the poll for what this Wednesday Live is about. All right, have a great evening. Bye.